Wonderful. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to MCP Demo Day. My name is Brendan Irvine-Broke. I'm Director of Product here at Cloudflare, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mahesh Murag, Product Manager at Anthropic. And today, we're really excited to be joined by 9 leading internet companies who've each built model context protocol servers on Cloudflare in the past couple of weeks. The space is moving so fast, and we've been really excited just to see so much momentum behind MCP. And they built these using the Cloudflare Agents SDK. And everything we're going to show today is a real demo that's live and in production on Cloudflare. And so these are some of the first MCP servers that end users can connect to over the internet and grant access to. And as Anthropic announced earlier today, this all happens directly from Claude.ai or other MCP clients without installing or running any of these things locally. A lot of what's been going on to date with MCP has been around building things for developers, all of us early adopters. And today's really this wonderful moment where this is reaching a much wider set of people. And so it means that each of these companies you're going to hear from today, they're kind of getting ready for the next wave of MCP servers and MCP adoption as things kind of expand to a new set of people into the workplace and kind of how everybody can use AI. And that's really been made possible by some of the outstanding work from the team at Anthropic, and that's why we wanted to have Mahesh join this live stream. Mahesh, do you want to tell people a little bit more about what Anthropic announced earlier today?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Brendan. And thanks for Cloudflare for being a huge part of this and kind of including me in the live stream as well. What we specifically just launched an hour ago, so very hot off the presses, is the ability for people to bring any MCP server that's remote into Claude.ai. Taking a step back, I think what we've been incredibly excited about with MCP from the very beginning, and now I think the rest of the community as well is super excited, is AI models and AI apps are only useful when you can actually bring context and data into them. And MCP is the standard that's made that possible. I think people have been already very excited about local MCP servers for quite a while, but as you called out, there are a bunch of friction points with that. You have to go fiddle with NPM or PyPy or figure out how to run these locally on your computer itself. But what we're launching today is the ability for Claude to talk to remotely hosted MCP servers, a lot of them on Cloudflare, which we're going to see in a bunch of those demos. And as you kind of called out, I think this makes MCP 10 times more accessible. And we're going to start seeing this become the standard, not just for the devs that are building AI apps, but also people that are using AI apps around the entire world. And most importantly, I think it does this securely. Remote MCP, a big part of it is the auth protocol, which Cloudflare obviously also supports, and all of these servers are actually secured by OAuth. So the servers and the apps only have access to the specific permissions that you give them. So anyway, highlight, very excited to be here, very grateful to Cloudflare for being a big part of the ecosystem, and both today and I think over the next couple of months, remote is going to be the next phase of MCP and something we're all very excited about at Anthropic.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mahesh. I also wanted to shout out everybody who's been contributing back to the specification, keeping this an open ecosystem. It's been really cool over the past couple months to see the spec really evolve in a couple different directions, especially around authorization. Excited about where things are going. So before we get into demos real quick, I wanted to share a little bit of what the companies you're about to hear from have kind of gone through, because each of these companies, as we've been talking to engineers there, they've been getting up and running really quickly. And so they've kind of each of the companies you'll hear from started here working with the Cloudflare Agents SDK, and then going to just quickly deploy an MCP server to Cloudflare. And so if you can take a look here, they've each kind of gone through this workflow, gotten set up with a new project, deployed something. And I figured, I'm going to change the name of this one because I've been deploying a bunch of MCP servers this morning. And once that kicks off, I figured we might use MCP to introduce our presenters today. So earlier today, we spun up an MCP server specifically to MCP Demo Day. And I'm going to ask it a little bit about who is presenting today. And it's going to go off and it's going to look at this, query this tool. It's going to come back and it's going to tell us, okay, here are the presenters today. So today you're going to be hearing from Atlassian, obviously from us, from Intercom, Linear, PayPal, Sentry, Square, Stripe, and Webflow. And so with that, I'd like to kind of kick things off. Oh, before we get started, one more thing. We should mention that if you are interested in building an MCP server and deploying that to Cloudflare, we're going to be hosting a session right after this with Kent C. Dodds, who's been doing a lot with the Model Context Protocol recently. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, if you subscribe to the Cloudflare YouTube channel, we'll have that on the same feed right after this. But with that, I am really excited to pass things over to Davey Malone, who's over at Intercom. Davey, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks a million. Hi, everybody. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Davey. I'm a senior product engineer at Intercom. For those unfamiliar with Intercom, we're an AI customer service company offering Finn, our AI agent, who works alongside your human teams through our next generation help desk. The Intercom MCP server that I'll be demoing today was created and deployed using Cloudflare. It was insanely easy to get this up and running really quickly. So creating this MCP server is just the first step that we're taking to make customer queries easier to access and act upon. So let's dive in. The demo I'm about to share illustrates a workflow where an engineer is investigating issues assigned to them on Linear. Customers have reached out through the Intercom platform, and our AI agent Finn has created Linear issues linking back to the customer conversations in Intercom. I'll play the role of the engineer here. So the issue I'm debugging at the moment is a problem with the checkout system on an e-commerce store. I'm going to ask Claude to help me with this issue. The conversations can be seen in Intercom here. We can see we have 3. And so let's open up Claude. Here we go. So the first thing I'm asking here is for Claude to use a linear MCP server to pull down the issue. And we can see it's searching and it's actually not able to find the issue that I'm looking for. So I'm going to switch to the old classic, here's one I prepared earlier. So what I've got here is a chat with Claude where I first searched for the linear issue. It pulled back down the linear issue that I was looking for. It found it by name, and it noticed that there were 3 Intercom conversations linked in that issue. So the next thing I did was I asked for it to get those Intercom conversations. And we can see here it used the search conversations tool from our Intercom MCP server. And it pulled down each of those conversations, and it gave us a brief little overview of the contents of each of those conversations. And so then the next thing I asked was to get each of the Intercom contacts, the users who created those conversations. So again, we reached back out to our Intercom MCP server and we pulled down each of those Intercom users. And we can see we got a brief summary here of each of the attributes for each of those Intercom users. And these are actually just the attributes that are like on the main part of the contact, and some of them are the common ones between each of those users. And so we're already noticing some interesting patterns here between those users as well. I'll get into that in a few minutes. So then the last thing I asked was for some Intercom data events. And the reason I asked for this is because it actually gives us some insight into user intent in the product. So we can actually see some of the actions that the user was taking in the product when they started experiencing this issue. And so I pulled down those events, and we're starting to see a pattern of each of the users were adding the same item to their cart. And so then the last thing I asked Claude to do was to summarize the issue. So I asked Claude to identify any patterns in the data and share next steps for resolving the issue. And so it shared an issue description, and it identified a few key patterns. We can see that all the users who were experiencing this issue were in Frankfurt, Germany. They were all using the Mac OS, and they were all on the same app version. Also, we've highlighted here that each of the users were using a different browser. So that, to me, says that the browser is probably not the issue here. And now we can leverage some of that user intent data that we got from the user events in Intercom to see that all 3 users were adding blue jeans to their shopping cart. And now the other thing we get from the conversation history that we've pulled down from Intercom is that one user was able to resolve their issue by removing certain items from their basket. So that gives us some insights into potentially this was an issue related to that product. And so Claude was also able to give me some next steps here and to outline a plan of action to try and resolve this issue. So with Claude's help, I now know where to look to solve this. But we can take this a step further and even see integrations with tools like Cursor helping act on this information as well. We chose to build this on Cloudflare because it's scalable, secure, and built to help teams move way faster. The wealth of examples and documentation around MCP servers made it easy for us to get up and running really, really quickly. And taking a step back, our broader vision here is to empower Finn, our AI agent, as an MCP client to take action and resolve customer issues across third-party and custom MCPs without needing developer resources. And that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Davey, that was wonderful, and shout out for backup demo plans with this. That was really cool. What I loved about this demo I thought was really cool was it mirrors the experience that developers go through, where you have a million tabs open, you're trying to bring out all this context, and you can kind of have one tab open and ask for summarization, kind of go back and forth with things. That's just so clearly like what I've done as an engineer in the past. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's so powerful. It's all about just bringing that context into the one place. And also, like, the LLM is much better at noticing patterns that you might not necessarily notice when you've got a million tabs open and you're clicking through everything and you've read something like, 2 hours ago, but you can't remember what it was and you haven't connected everything together yet. So I think that's what the really powerful thing here is.
Absolutely. And Mahesh, I imagine you're thinking about all kinds of other capabilities that you'd love Claude to have to be able to act on those things too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing here that I'm really excited about with Intercom, which you kind of showed, is being able to pull in data from other sources too and use that to act on your support tickets. So I feel like Claude or any AI app becomes like the center of dashboard, which we're really excited about. We love Intercom too. So
Good stuff.
Wonderful. Well, while we're getting things going, Davey, I'm curious for one more thing. Is there anything that, you were showing a demo that involved multiple MCP servers? Are there other types of kind of integrations between, customer context and other things that you're thinking about using your MCP server for?
I think for MCP at Intercom, the thing that we're really thinking about at the moment is how Finn could interact with all of these MCP servers that are being deployed, like with Cloudflare and other sources, and thinking about integrating with Stripe or integrating with Linear, creating issues, reading issues, and really just getting customer issues resolved much quicker.
Wonderful. Great. Well, for our second demo, I want to kick things over to Brendan Lane at PayPal. Brendan, I remember somebody from your team was one of the first people who messaged us on a Friday, and I think by Monday you had an MCP server up and running, and we were really excited. So take it away.
Yeah, things have been moving super fast. We've been very excited by how easy a lot of this stuff has been. So I am going to talk super briefly about our agentic commerce demo with our new PayPal MCP server. And just briefly to introduce myself, I'm Brendan Lane. I actually lead the developer product teams here at PayPal. And just kind of diving right in, we want to talk about like how the world has changed very quickly. So, until now, if you were a person, a user, you wanted to find something online and buy it, we've probably all done this. Let's say you're shopping for clothes, maybe you want to go get the looks on social media, or something you want to buy, you probably search for it, compare prices, check out. This is something we've done a ton of times. And if you were, like, say, a business, you're a business today, you want people to come and find things to buy from you. You probably think about like, hey, how do I do some SEO, some SEM? How do I run a sale to kind of get people to figure out what I've got and hopefully buy a few of these things? Now there's really a different way of doing things that we can unlock pretty simply through MCP servers. So today, with something like Claude and MCP servers, we can make possible for a person, or in particular their agent, to go buy something through a simple conversation. And let me show you a little bit how that works briefly, and then we could talk about like what are the implications of something like this. So we recorded us doing this a little bit earlier, but here we are talking to Claude. And actually, the first time I typed this in, I said, "Hey, I wanna buy some hoodies," and I went ahead and misspelled hoodies because I fat finger things all the time. And Claude was like, "Yo, no problem. I know what you want. Let me show you some hoodies. I'm gonna bring some up for you." And this is where it's showing us using a tool for this chat. And in this case, this is a tool available for our MCP server. So we put all our product catalog online from all the companies that work for us. And we suddenly have a whole bunch of different hoodies that we can present to you if you want to buy something. And you can see here that Claude found a few, right? It gives you a quick summary. There's women's, there's men's, there's different colors. It talks about the styling of it a little bit. And while it would probably be super fun to watch me browse through hundreds and hundreds of hoodies over the next hour, which is something I would do, I just went ahead and picked one. I said, I'm going to buy this women's white hoodie today. And so it says, great, we are going to bring in another tool, and we're going to go ahead and help you learn more about this thing. And then if you're interested, you can go ahead and buy it right now. So when I asked about this hoodie, here's details. We have the price, we have sizes, it actually can check inventory. So all of these things are tools that are giving you recent, up-to-date information, and a person like me can go ahead and use this to shop and buy something. But maybe even more interestingly, like an agent could do this, an agent acting on somebody's behalf. And that opens up a whole bunch of interesting use cases. In this case, I'm saying, hey, let me buy a small one, here's my email. And just like if you were personally clicking through a website, it says, cool, like let's go ahead and check out. And we're showing you all the different tools we put available on this MCP server, letting you kind of add each one. There is a way to do this in bulk, so you're not clicking through every time. We just want to show how it works. But you can see this is returning a session just like if you were using an API today to sort of buy something in the e-commerce world. All the same things are happening, except now it's available through an LLM. And now it would be available to work with other sort of shopping bots, shopping agents, things that might be trying to do commerce on someone's behalf. So actually right now, this is the one part I can't really show easily. There's a multi-factor auth check. So in this case, it's sort of pinging my PayPal app and saying, hey, do you want to confirm this is you and you want to buy something? We can also send you a text, all the other ways that we have security online. So I just typed in like I've consented, it got the signal on the back end. And now it's actually pulling up a wallet. And in this case, I'm using a PayPal developer sort of test example because I didn't want to put my real credit card number in front of everybody. But it'll pull in all your real information. It'll show bank accounts, credit cards, anything you have saved. We've got shipping address saved. And it's pretty easy for someone to just say like, yeah, I'm going to use my bank account, my debit card, whatever, and send it to my house. And you can actually see here, what we typed in was in some points like shorthand. You don't have to give it very explicit instructions. Claude can figure out what you mean from, call it my fat fingers, or some pretty quick speech. And once you say, hey, go ahead and buy this thing, it does buy it, right? You're seeing an actual sort of API response, the same thing you would get if you were buying something online. It's going ahead and shipping to your saved, your saved shipping address, and it's got all your information. And like, this is done. We really just bought something right now via an LLM, and it's going to go ahead and like send me a confirmation email to, well, in this case, our PayPal test email. But this works in production right now in real life. You can buy something, and so I think what is interesting about this is that we made this all possible through MCP extremely quickly. Like this is PayPal MCP server. It is attached to almost all of our existing production APIs that work at scale today. It was super fast and easy to do this as a developer, and it unlocks a whole bunch of use cases for agents now. You keep hearing me talking about agents, like yes, a person can go buy something through Claude very easy, but it's also possible for developers to build experiences where some agent acting on someone's behalf can start moving money. It can buy things for a business or buy things for a person. And it's not just the actual sort of payment itself that's available, but we have all the sort of shopping and commerce use cases you might want. So we have product catalogs up there from a bunch of different businesses. We can help verify your identity. We can help you actually make a purchase. We can change prices and currencies. We can do a lot of the post-purchase stuff that we care about, like check your shipping and see when these shoes or hoodie or whatever is actually getting to you. And this really unlocks a lot of cases that are a little bit of a pain as a person today. So I can build an agent and say, hey, I really want this hoodie, but wait till it goes on sale and buy it when it's below $100. Or hey, I only go buy me some new toilet paper once a month because that's when I tend to run out. A lot of the stuff that you kind of had to watch around and sort of do yourself, you no longer have to do. You can kind of hand it to something smart and say, hey, just go take care of this for me, and it'll actually complete the purchase, use the card, the bank, whatever you want, ship it to your house, and it all just works. And in some sense, we were excited to see like how fast and easy this was to build. And the last, sort of thing we like to start telling people now is actually the technology to do a lot of this stuff is there today. It's made super possible by MCP. Claude is able to kind of ignore my fat fingers, figure out what I want, and just go do it. And as we have sort of seen how fast the technology moves, it kind of reminds us that in some sense, our capabilities are ahead of what people sort of understand and realize today. And we think in order to get people to really start using this, sort of building trust, building awareness, building security are really important, right? So the first time you see this, you're like, whoa, wait, what just happened? Did money just move? Yes, it did. And the exciting thing, and the reason we're super excited to partner with people like Cloudflare, is we think that by sort of having that trusted name, by being able to tell people like, yes, money's really going to move, but you can trust that these people are who they say they are, these sites are who they say they are, this is not some weird fraud thing going on. Building that trust is really what's going to be important to get people to try this stuff out and use it at scale. But it's very much possible to do a lot of interesting shopping experiences today and to build agents to kind of act on people's behalf. So very excited to see how fast this has moved. And I think there's a lot of possibilities we are just beginning to touch. And that's it for me.
It's a great demo. Authorization and OAuth is like red hot in 2025. I've spent more time reading OAuth RFCs this year than any other time in my career. And it's been really cool to see demos like this that kind of push the bounds of what permissions are being granted and how those interaction flows should work. Mahesh, I actually had a question for you, because a lot of what's shown in there are kind of these interactive or things like maps or addresses or payment information. How are you thinking about Claude.ai and how it should present different types of content?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think we've only kind of scratched the surface on this. One of the reasons I've been excited about Claude for years now is things like artifacts and these richer interfaces that we can help the model present to the user on the side. There's a lot of potential, I think, with MCP for servers to return these richer interfaces, to return things like HTML that render in line as you're talking to the model, or even to return consent dialogues or different bits of information it wants to elicit from the user. So both from the protocol perspective, but also Claude.ai being able to consume that information, there's a lot more room for this, and that's what I'm super, super excited about. But yeah, also a lot of work for us to do.
Awesome. And then Brendan, I'm curious, like you mentioned developers building their own agents on top of PayPal. I'm curious with that, like what are the types of agents that you're most top of mind for you that you want to get developers trying? Like what should people listening to this start experimenting with?
What I personally find most helpful for me is basically taking care of my pet peeves. I drink a lot of LaCroix. I can build a little agent to just order me some more each week. I can tell it to do things like, hey, make sure it's delivered every Thursday, but pick the cheapest local place or look for the flavors I like first and have them sent to my house. I like the fact that Claude can really help understand logic and sort of handle errors, right? If my local grocery store is out, it knows to go to the next store in line and it'll just do it for me. I don't have to think about it. It's really been amazing how much of my life can be simplified by just having something that understands instructions and can just go.
Very cool. We are really big right now at Cloudflare on kind of self-hosted personal software, and I think there's so many opportunities to build MCP servers kind of for yourself, just like what you're describing. Wonderful. Well, with that, I think we have our next presenter, Stuart from Asana. I'm going to kick things over to you.
Hey everyone, thanks Brendan. Yeah, I'm Stuart. I'm an engineer at Asana working on our latest feature, AI Studio. And today I'm here to show you what you can do with Asana's new MCP server. So at Asana, our mission is to enable the world's teams to work together effortlessly. And we do that by managing their tasks, their projects, and their goals to make collaboration with, with teammates and AI a lot simpler. So because work today lives across so many different apps and services, we wanted to invest in MCP to enable this kind of agent-driven interoperability between Asana and the different ecosystem of apps that our customers rely on. So users will be able to do things like pull statuses, update their tasks and deadlines, and create and manage projects from any MCP client just using natural language. So let's dive in. Okay, so I've set up a couple of sample projects for the purposes of this demo. And, let's imagine for a second that we're working for the Lumen Corporation on a little project called Cold Harbor. So a situation that we all might have been in before is being at the start of a project and having a PRD or project plan document that you then kind of need to translate or encode into your ticketing or task management system. So I've had Claude generate me a Cold Harbor project requirements document. So we've got a task breakdown over here that I'm interested in. It has a bunch of assignees and their associated tasks and descriptions. What we're going to do here is we're going to ask Claude to take this and just convert it into a fully created and assigned set of tasks in Asana. Here we go. So we're connected to the Asana MCP server here with all our associated tools. And whoops, I accidentally hit do not allow. Here we go.
There we go.
And yeah, Claude is now going through and hitting our different tool calls to create these tasks. So now it's pulling my user ID, and if all goes well, we should see it show up right here. And you see the first subtask here assigned to myself. And yeah, a couple of my teammates will be getting a couple of weird pings, but I'll apologize to them later. All right, so that's one potential workflow, right? Where you can take a project plan and convert it into a set of tasks in Asana. Now let's switch gears and take a look at a project that's more in flight. So here I've set up a different project with a Gantt chart view, and something that I often run into is after the weekend or after some time off, it's a bit hard to catch back up on a project and figure out, okay, what's still left for me to do, what's been done, etc. So let's just ask Claude to summarize the tasks left for me to do on this project, flagging any that are overdue. All right. It's getting the tasks in the project. And it let me know what's left. So one thing I notice is that I'm actually behind on this this task to get some statistics for Mr. Milchick. Why don't we push that deadline back by a week and move the associated milestone? And for good measure, let's add a comment about why I was late. All right, so you can see the task over here and the milestone down there. And there you go. Due date has been updated. I think it is taking a look and yep, adding a comment right here. And finally, bumping up this milestone down here. Great. Okay, so flash forward a couple days, and another situation you might often run into is there's been a project status sync. There's a bunch of action items and a lot of things you have to update in this project. So let's take a look at this Slack message that I got from my boss after that meeting. We've got a bunch of different action items here. We have some tasks to complete, some due dates to push out, and some tasks to reassign as well. So I've also prepped that in here, and I'm just asking Claude to take action in this project based on the copy paste of this Slack message. So what you can expect to see here is that Claude is going to go through all those action items, tick off the completion statuses of a bunch of tasks, add a couple of new ones, shuffle some due dates around, and also reassign a couple of the tasks. What's also neat about this is, by taking these actions and updating the states of your tasks and projects, it also can hook in directly to Asana's built-in workflows and automation system. So something that's happening here is after a task gets completed, it gets moved to a different section, and I get a little automated piece of praise. So that is nice. Some wellness tokens. While that's all going on in the background, there's quite a bit of work that Claude is doing that we no longer have to. I just wanted to share a bit about the experience building out the MCP server. So for anyone thinking about building one yourself, I think one key takeaway from myself and the folks at Asana that built ours is that tuning your prompts and the tools that you provide is still as important as ever. You want to make sure that the model knows how to use your tools effectively. If you just give it the entire API, it without much description, it tends to get confused. So good documentation is good as always. And also wanted to highlight that using Cloudflare got us up and running super quickly, let us focus on the user experience and the way we present our tools to the model rather than focusing on all the protocol infrastructure. All right, so heading back over here to Claude, all these actions have been completed. So we can see some different assignees for these tasks. A bunch have been completed and a bunch of due dates updated. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We're super excited about what people are going to build on top of this. Some other ideas we have or that we've tried that we don't have time to show today are synthesizing information from your different projects and pushing out documents or presentation artifacts into Drive or any other like document providers. Pulling tasks in to Cursor or Claude Code for implementation. So going from ticket to like pull request is now super possible. And we're also building out a feature in Asana that will allow you to use it to manage work for agents that take actions and complete knowledge work, both inside and outside of Asana. So ton of possibilities with this new MCP paradigm. We hope that this makes your daily work experience all the more delightful. Thanks.
Stuart, that was a wonderful demo, and this has grown so much since I think you and I met and you stood this up like in an evening on Cloudflare. So really cool to see. And MCP is clearly the way that your innie can be the best at macro data refinement. I love the references in there. It was really interesting, like to think about task tracking and how generative AI and MCP kind of reduces so much of the overhead that we all think of like, oh, I'm going to go create this whole Gantt chart, this whole project plan for something. Is that what you're kind of seeing in terms of how people are starting to use different tools around Asana?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that Asana has been thinking about for a while is really how to reduce this work about work. And this just makes it easier than ever to actually just delegate a lot of those maybe manual encoding or meeting action items that do pop up that are part of the glue work to get a project going. So I feel like that's definitely one of the core use cases here.
And then maybe for both of you, I'm curious for something that was counterintuitive about tuning tools or descriptions. Like we've been building a lot of our own MCP servers, and we announced a couple today ourselves, but we've been finding like exactly what you said, Stuart, matters so much. Like not just kind of shoving a whole API into an MCP server, but being very deliberate. Like what surprised you about building descriptions for MCP tools?
I think that the nature of Asana's API, maybe in particular, and our data model is that it's very rich, it's very full-featured, but also a bit overwhelming for anyone who isn't a power user to understand all of the concepts and different flows that you might have to take between different API routes to get something done. So having tool descriptions, sort of like the way you describe the API to a junior developer was actually the way we were thinking about it. And it helped a lot to have hints like, use this endpoint first for these types of searches before moving on to this more complex and powerful endpoint, but that needs a bunch more prior data as inputs. So just little hints like that, and also focusing in on those core tools rather than adding 100+ like API routes that we have available publicly.
Yeah, and I
That
can
makes
add to that as well, just from observations. Like models, I think need a lot more improvement over the next months and years to use a ton of tools and orchestrate them in the right ways. I think Claude is one of the better ones that I've seen at being able to disambiguate, but there's still room for improvement for it being able to distinguish which tool it should call at which time. And so some of the prompting that we've spent a lot of time on is how do you nudge Claude to use the right tool based on the context and don't overuse this other tool. I think it's classic prompt engineering, but it's just a new way of a whole bunch of prompts to be engineering at once.
Absolutely. Well, Stuart, thank you so much. That was a wonderful demo. It's really cool even to see everybody starting to think about different MCP servers connected together. And so with that, we want to kick it over to Mike from Square, or Square Block, both combined, I guess.
Yeah.
But Mike, take it away.
Great, thanks. I'm excited to be a part of this this demo here. Yeah, and so many of you are probably familiar with Square, maybe less so with the parent company Block. But at Square, our goal, we started with the little white reader that you maybe see at coffee shops to make it so that anybody can take credit card payments. And we've really grown into like a whole lot more than that. We have this like big seller dashboard, a big iOS and Android app that let you manage everything that you would want to do with your business. So, you can create items, manage the inventory for those items, customers, your like staff, fulfill orders. Like there's just a ton that we do. And I'm specifically an engineer on the developer platform team at Square. And so what we do is we like package all those things into like a bunch of APIs. Like I think we have like around 200, so that we can basically meet sellers where they're at. So it's like if somebody wants to be able to deliver with DoorDash, they can do that, by still using their Square catalog, for example. Or, maybe they have like a totally unique situation, because that's often the case with a small business. There's some uniqueness there. So I'm very excited to talk about our new remote MCP server here, which I think is like kind of a similar moment to like that little Square Reader, where it kind of democratized the ability to create payments. In the same way, now it's like anybody can have like an assistant, without having to like hire somebody and pay them a ton of money, or go through sort of the pain of trying to manually do everything yourself, because we could like build good UIs, but ultimately it's a little, it's always going to be tedious. So right here, I'm just asking Claude to tell people about my Square store, and it's kind of going through the MCP server. This time it was pretty fast, and it created a nice description for you all, which, by the way, all of this store, I just created the content with the Square MCP server. And so I've got the Square sandwich shop, with a bunch of menu items, some sides, and we're open through the evenings. And it even like gives a little call out to Square, so that's pretty nice. But the MCP server does more than just read. So like, let's imagine, so I'm a busy small business owner, and while I'm talking to you all, one of my customers walks in, and I'm trying to remember, what does Emily normally order? I want to be able to impress her that I remember her face. I can just ask my AI assistant here, and it'll search through Emily's previous orders, and also search for my customer Emily. And then it'll search for my customer Emily. Thankfully, I only have one customer named Emily here. Otherwise, it would probably ask me like, hey, do you mean Emily Johnson or Emily Smith? But it does that, and it tells me that she's one of my loyal customers who normally orders the perfect Square sandwich with a side of fries and a Square root float. And occasionally she'll do something different. But let's say that we just want her to order her usual thing. And I gotta like demo some sort of payment space because, I do work for Square, and that's what most people know us about. So I'll ask, let's just create an online checkout link for her usual order, so that we can just have her pay in the web browser. Kind of forced example here, but I'm not gonna open the point of sale for you all in this demo. And so it goes through. You can kind of see it build the request as it's going through. It's adding my line items here, my fries, my root beer float. And in this case, it actually encounters an error because I have like a fake phone number under Emily's customer account. But the cool thing about like the MCP server protocol is that the AI can like correct for these mistakes itself if you give it like a good error message. And so I kind of purposefully left that all for you, and then it's eventually able to create the payment link without having the fake phone number, basically, which I can open. I will spare you all kind of putting in my credit card information. But we do have a real order here, which I guess you all could open too, but only do that if you want to give me like 20 bucks. But cool. And then I have another demo. I wanted to, let's just open a new tab here so that we have a fresh context window. And so in this scenario, like I'm imagining that, okay, I want to add a brunch menu to my store. So learned language models, or Claude is great at like extracting text from images. And this is like a really great use case for the MCP server. So I could just like take a picture of my menu that I created, who knows when, during my busy time. And then Claude will look and see, okay, I got to make sure that I have the brunch menu hours on my location. In this case, I forgot to remove those before this demo. So it detects that I already have brunch hours. Oops. for Sunday, I guess, but not for Saturday. It has my brunch hours for Saturday. And then it's going to go through and basically create the catalog objects. And so I should mention here as like a segue, the way that, so for like developers, the way that we built this MCP serve is a little unique. Because Square's API is so big, it basically seems impossible for us to expose every action that people want to do as a tool. So in this case, we like basically layer things where I force the AI to be spoon-fed information, where we say, okay, first you need to call and say, what are the available services at Square that I can interact with? And then after that, it says like, how do I call that? So we have like the what and the how, and then finally we have the do as in actually make the API call. And this is actually like, I'm really surprised at how well this has worked. I'd be interested to see once real people are using this in the wild, if it is also as useful for them as it is for me. And it'd be interesting too to see if more people adopt kind of a layering approach. But anyway, so in this case, there are like a bunch of things to add to the menu. And so it's kind of doing it bit by bit because I built the prompts to kind of nudge the AI to do that. And it's inserting the categories, the items, the sides, and then like the desserts and the beverages. And okay, and it looks like it succeeded. So I might as well go into the Square dashboard here and confirm that things look as expected. And things look as I expect, because I kind of purposefully tripped up the AI here. In this case, you'll notice I actually have some duplicate items because I have items on my brunch menu that are also in my dinner menu, in addition to like the hash browns and that sort of thing. But that's okay. The beauty of like the chat model is that like I don't just have this static thing. I could tell the AI, hey, I see that you duplicated some things. Can you fix that for me? Figure it out. And this is like kind of a complicated action, so we'll see how well it does for our live demo. I don't have any like backup here. I'm just totally doing it live. But what it's going to try to do is search for the catalog objects, see like what are the duplicate things in my catalog, and then delete the duplicates. And right now it's just telling me what the duplicates are, which is nice before I guess it does the delete action. So we'll just let it fill in. Cool. And yeah, we have an endpoint on catalog called batch delete objects that takes in the ID. And it looks like it did that. Now it recognizes too, well, now we have like categories in the existing dinner menu items that we need to like include for brunch. Right, because in my menu I had like a morning quadrant menu or something, or title or something like that. So again, it looks like it's searching through our brunch items. In this case, yeah, it looks like it's going through 2 at a time for some reason. And then hopefully should determine if any of these need to have a category added. So yeah, that's pretty much the demo here. Yeah, I'm really excited, kind of looking forward to see how, like, once other people support remote MCP servers, and then once things are more mature too, just how we'll be able to like integrate with other partners. You could imagine a restaurant who wants to like order the like raw food items for the day, be able to just use the Square MCP and then whatever their food supplier is to like create a purchase order that then they kind of manually verify. And there's like so many things out there, and every business is unique. So super excited to have this out there. Thanks.
It's a really wonderful demo. I think about like the origin story of Square was like running a whole business on your phone. And
Yeah.
it's so cool to imagine too, like talking to Claude and being able to, run your business that way when you don't have a laptop open, and where that could go next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have not gotten to test any of like the text to speech stuff. I think that'll be super cool. Especially yeah. So I'm excited to see where the future brings us.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I know we have a bunch of developers. We've got maybe one more minute. Do you want to say a little bit more about the layering approach? I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So basically, yeah. So Square like has a huge like our AI like object models are very complex, and we have a lot of like API like APIs themselves. So yeah, it's like I wanted a way to be able to let the person using the MCP server do anything, without having to like have them like restrict the tools that they're using themselves. And by only like having 3 tools, I basically am able to like consistently get the AI to do things in the order that I say it to, at least for Sonnet. So that's like also props to the Anthropic guys, I guess.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it was a great demo. We got a bunch coming up next. We're just going to transition real quickly to let a couple more people into the call. And so we'll be right back in maybe 20 seconds. But stay tuned because we got a bunch more people joining. Cool. I see people joining. We got Stripe, Webflow, Sentry, Linear, Atlassian coming up next. We got a jam-packed agenda. I see people joining the call. This is great. We have so many presenters today that I think we're going to break Riverside. So shout out to our AV team keeping it all together. It's been really cool, Mahesh, as people are joining to see like how many people are thinking about different MCP servers, just even within this group being able to interop. I'm excited to see the Linear demo, thinking about the Intercom one. Like that seems like where some of the real power comes from.
Yeah, definitely. I think the next month or two, hopefully because of this launch, we're just going to see, I don't know, tens, hundreds of these, which is going to be really, really exciting. But yeah, one cool thing that I really appreciate about the demo is like the layering approach, letting Claude's intelligence basically make the decisions about what information to give to every API kind of on its own. I think there's a lot for us to figure out about authentication and user consent when it comes to the layering approach as well. Something from the protocol side as well as the AI apps and clients that are building with this. But how do you let the user either know about what's happening behind the scenes when it's calling multiple APIs within the tool, and give them the ability to maybe put some control over that. But yeah, super, super cool demo.
Awesome. Well, with that, I want to kick it over to Matt from Stripe. Payments are clearly a hot topic in all of this. So Matt, take it away.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm an engineer from Stripe, and Stripe's all about building developer tools for businesses to grow their revenue. So today I want to show you how you could monetize your own MCP servers. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay. All right. So here I have a basic MCP server built on top of the Cloudflare SDK. And pretty easy to get started. And I have this sample tool here that generates emojis. So basic example here. But in real world cases, oftentimes you might want to charge for users to actually use this tool. So if this was like generating images, you might want to charge per use. So how can you do that? Well, with just a couple lines of code, you could import this paid MCP agent from Stripe's agent toolkit here, and then you can just convert that tool call into a paid tool call, and then copy over some configuration from Stripe. And it's really just that easy. So with this, now I have an MCP server that they can charge my users. So let me hop over into the Stripe dashboard and explain what each of these are. So in the Stripe dashboard, I created this product emoji generator, and I set up a specific price for this. So the first 3 usages are free, and then it's going to be 10 cents for the next ones. And I have this emoji generator meter here. And so this is basically like as people like call my emoji generation thing, it will hit this meter, and I could see like the live usage and like the different users that hit that. So again, just a couple lines of code. Let's hop into Claude and try to get this to demo. So I asked Claude, like, can you generate me a strawberry emoji using this tool? And I, added that MCP here. We call this test money cash payments. But we have the generate emoji tool here. And, you can see that I asked to generate it, and then it asked for me to pay, actually. So you get 3 free generations, and then it's 10 cents per each next one. And then it gave me this link. So, we kind of talked about this in the previous demos, but in the future, you could totally imagine this being like, I could pay in line here, I could have an agent pay for me. So what's also interesting here is you could actually see Claude telling you, like, you have to pay, or, I could probably just give you the strawberry emoji myself. And that's kind of interesting too, because LLMs here, like, you could really imagine this as a marketplace. And so if you have different companies with different tools, like, it's interesting to see, like, the LLMs kind of deciding, like, is this tool really worth, like, purchasing? So in the case of an emoji generator, probably not, but we're going to ball out, and we're going to buy it. So let me head over. I'm going to pay for this very quickly. And then once this is processed, I will be able to head over back to Claude, and then I should be able to say, like, generate me an emoji of a banana. I paid for the tool. And so this is generating, and it, I can see the banana emoji here. And then if I look at the meter as well, you can see, like, this event just got hit by my customer. So let's ask it to generate 10 fruit emojis. So, this is just going to go one at a time. It's going to generate, and then you could see, like, the meters popping up over here. So you can imagine in the real world, you might have, like, a ton of users all hitting these meters, and you could see this increase. So this goes ahead and then creates a bunch of these. My emoji generator is kind of buggy, so you'll be able to see that it's not the greatest at generating oranges. But we could see this increasing here. And then what's also interesting is I could go into the customers tab, and then I'm using MCP Demo Day at example.com, and you could see, like, this created that subscription. And if I look into this, you can see the first 3 were free, and then, like, it's going to charge for the next couple. And it generated all of these. You could see, like, pick, like, an orange textbook. And Claude's smart enough to notice that, some of them are incorrect. But yeah, I mean, from here, you can imagine it's pretty easy to just send an invoice to your customers and so on. But I think the reason that we're so excited about this is literally just a new channel for businesses. We didn't have to build a website or front end or anything. Like, here, MCP is kind of both the front end and the back end, if you imagine it that way. And, more and more clients are going to start supporting this, and it's just a really interesting space.
Amazing demo. I'm really excited to try this. It's really clever how you wrapped tool calls like that. Can you say a little bit more about, like, what you built there and how it works?
Yeah, definitely. And we actually have docs that I could link to as well. But on top of our agent toolkit, we actually just wrap literally the Cloudflare agent. And so when you call this .pay tool, we're wrapping your tool and storing Stripe state inside of a Cloudflare deliverable object. And, with the OAuth example too, when you log in with OAuth, it uses the user that's logged in, and then it, like, creates the customer for you. So we try to abstract that all away behind the scenes for you.
Amazing. And I'm curious, just, like, maybe for both of you, what types of, like, MCP native internet businesses do you think that people on this call who are listening should start experimenting with here?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting thing. We actually have, like, seen, like, 50 plus people already reached out, interested. But you can imagine something like scheduling appointments or something like that. You might want to just do that natively inside of your app without having to switch to a different website. I don't know if you have other examples, Mahesh.
No, I think that one's a good one. Generally speaking, I think agents that are able to go and interact with various stores and maybe even other agents to go get some resources that are protected or go ask for permission to do something. And the permission there is payment in some sense. So yeah, really excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything we know about checkout flows, it's that friction is like something that's entirely worth fighting against, and anything that's going to knock down some of those barriers is going to build a great business around it. I love this scheduling example. Great, Matt, thank you so much for the demo. It's been wonderful to work with you guys at Stripe on this. I'm excited to see what developers listening on this call start to build with all this stuff together. Next up, we have Anushri from Webflow. Anushri, take it away.
Hello. Hi, Mahesh and Brendan, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Anushri Gupta. I manage the developer relations team here at Webflow, and it is my pleasure to demo Webflow's MCP server for you. I'm going to share my screen. Let's go. Oops. And, all right, can you see this?
You got it.
For those who may not know, Webflow is a website experience platform where marketers, designers, and developers can work together to build, manage, and optimize sites that drive business impact. With Webflow's MCP server, you can access Webflow's data APIs through natural language prompts to support CMS management, auditing, and improving SEO, content localization, site publishing, and so much more. Before I jump into the demo, I am going to quickly show you around Webflow to see what it looks like. So this is my awesome site. This is something I picked up from, I just cloned a template from one of the thousands of templates available in our marketplace. What I'm going to demo today is creating a CMS collection. Webflow CMS is a powerful tool that allows users to create and manage dynamic content on their websites efficiently. Now jumping into Cursor. Now Webflow CMS MCP server works with Cursor, Windsurf, and Cloud Desktop. I will be using Cursor for the demo today. Let's hop into Cursor. All right, let's just get a list of my websites. Now, the way this is organized is, well, I do have, this is a workspace that I share with a number of my teammates. So you'll see we have a bunch of sites here. Now, because I was showing you my awesome site, let's just use the awesome site to create a series of blog posts using our API changelog. And then we'll add a few fields in there to, let's add a summary of the change, an author name, get creative with author names. And then let's just do the last 5 entries for now. So the way this is going to work is it's going to get the specific site first. A site has collections. Each collection has a structure which will have, for example, in this case, we're going to have a date, we're going to have a summary, we'll have the actual content, and then we'll have a number of collection items which will correspond to the change log that we've put out. That's the process we're kind of going through today. So we've created a change description. We've added a summary. Let's see, we have an author and a release date. That makes sense. All right. And then once this is done, it's going to go through the last 5 changelog entries, and then we'll add some author names and summaries there. Once we're done here, we'll jump back into Webflow to see how this actually works and what the output looks like and how we publish it to the web. We're also going to just create this in a staging area. So I don't want to publish this out to the web, out to the internet yet. We're just going to keep it for ourselves, play around with it a little bit, and then then we'll make it go live. All right, number 3 is almost done. Let's see, number 4. We can jump back into my awesome site to take a look at what's going on here. All right, let's make sure we have the latest version. Okay, so we have 4, the 5th one will come to. And so as you can see, there was nothing here. The agent sort of went through our changelog, got data from there. And what we're gonna do now is, what Webflow does by default is it'll create a template page for you. Let's use our design assistant to add some magic here. What do I want the page to look like? Let's see, maybe this one. All right, so we'll create a page where we want our all of our blog posts to show and what we want them to look like. Let's see, that's good. We are going to set this to be our actual change description. There we go. This can maybe be the name of this post. This will be our actual release date. This will be our author, binary bard. All right, so I think this looks fairly good. Let's just publish this so it's live, and then we'll go to our, this has been published, and let's see, and here it is. Here's our page, it's live. So I really just asked an agent to create some CMS items for me. We hopped back into Webflow, created a page, used the AI design assistant to design a page, added some CMS items, and published it. All right, so in terms of what's next, this is very exciting, but we do have a few more things. We're obviously adding tooling as we speak to reflect our data API. But what I'm really excited about is, as the standard evolves and we're able to add more tooling, I am looking forward to bringing AI native workflows to the main Webflow experience via our designer APIs. And finally, if you want to learn more, there is mcp.webflow.com. If you want to check out the tooling available, what you can do, that's our doc page for you. Back to you, Mahesh and Brendan.
Wonderful. That was a great demo. I think it really also highlights some of where things might need to go in the future of visual content and kind of how people can really understand outside of just a chat interface, kind of what MCP is doing on their behalf. I'm really excited to see what people, including Webflow, kind of experiment with there.
Thank you. Same here.
Wonderful. Well, we've got a couple more demos to kind of kick things off into. Cody, I think you are up next. Anushree, thank you so much for the demo from Webflow. From Sentry, Sentry has been building a bunch of stuff. And actually, Sentry, you guys did some cool stuff I remember seeing really early with evals for your MCP tools. So Cody, take it away. Tell us about it.
Sounds good. Yeah, really excited. We'll come back to the evals in a minute. I want to jump right into the demo and get things rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and share my whole screen. I'm going to assume everyone's seeing the things that we want them to see and that you're seeing my my Claude screen. So hello friends. My name is Cody D'Arkland. I look after developer experience at Sentry. And something that we haven't seen so far today is kind of the end-to-end flow of getting set up inside of the MCP remote server. So bringing that into something like Claude. And then I'll go in and dive into some of the Sentry workflows. So really excited for it. Cloudflare has made this really easy to build. And so we're going to jump in and show it. So I'm in Claude.ai right now. I'm going to head down at the bottom, go into settings, and I'm going to bring in our Sentry MCP server. So I'll go in here. We'll type in Sentry, just give it a random name. And I'm going to plug in that URL. So mcp.sentry.dev. This URL is actually the same landing page that exists. So we use the same URL for both. So you get a ton of information around how the MCP server works from here. We had a nice little diagram generated here that talks about the communication flow. And you can see all the tools that are available for Sentry. So we care a lot about context in Sentry and being able to give people a good understanding of what's happening with issues inside of their environment, how their application's performing. And so our view is that we want to make it very easy to pull that context in and drop it into the LLMs to work with. And MCP makes for a great path to that. MCP is all about bringing better context into the LLMs, and that's the entire goal of what we did inside of the MCP server. So that's set up right here. I'm going to go ahead and hit add, and this is going to go out and connect to that remote MCP server that we're hosting inside of Cloudflare. We built it on Cloudflare because they made it very easy to build production grade MCP servers. From the first steps of actually building it all the way to running it, things like durable objects, things like OAuth integrated. And so instead of having to clone down and try to run this locally, you just connect to it remotely. And since you're signing in with OAuth, it's getting all the permissions that apply to you directly inside of your environment. So the orgs that you can see, the projects you have access to, that's all available for you. And so right from the scratch, I was able to go in and configure that. You can see all the tools that we have available now. So again, when I talked about context before, these are all different parts of context that we want to be able to bring into the workflow that people are using as they build and troubleshoot applications and problems inside of their environments. So with that said, we can go in now. I can go in and do a new chat. And I'm going to go and start just querying a few different things. If we go in here, we can see all the different tools that we have available to call off of. Some of these are simple queries. Some of these are objects that get created. Some of these are jobs that you want to run inside of a project. So I'm going to go in and just show me all the Sentry projects I have access to. This is going to go out, interact with that remote MCP server, and pull down all of that. First thing it's going to do is pull additional context from Sentry. So which orgs do I have access to? Once it gets that back, it's going to use that to go and query all of the different projects that are available. So you saw I got the build with code one. That's my personal org inside of Sentry. It's going to go in and list out all the projects. I'm going to shift this over to the side so we can see Sentry in the background. And again, these are all the projects that I have access to. I feel like Claude is shaming me a little bit, calling out the 33 projects that I have because I get distracted with building things all the time. But these are all of the different projects that I have active in here. And if we go into Sentry, we can scroll through and see all those available here. So this is connecting into my real environment. This was all from scratch. So now we can go in and do something a little bit more interesting, like tell me more about the Ungborked project. This is a project that I do a bunch of demo stuff out of that I use for dog fooding internal processes, internal features. And so this is going to go out and it's going to chain calls. And I think that's what's really interesting about MCP is not just that you can have these individual calls that do a thing. It's the way we can layer on these calls to bring additional context in. So this kind of vague question of tell me about this project really has multiple levels to it. There's the issues that are happening in there, right? Things that are going wrong inside of the application, problems that are happening, crashes, performance issues, all of that. But then there's also things like what are releases looking like? What are other things that are coming into the project overall? All of that can be brought in. Autofix was another one that I wanted to talk about there, being able to call out different autofix jobs that have run against your project to understand what was broken and how you actually get it fixed. Slowing down a little bit here as it goes and pulls this down, but it's going to go through and pull all of these different tools to build one kind of final answer about the summary of that environment. So let it run for a second here while it goes through and does all of that. It's getting issue details right now. If we go in and do list issues and scroll down, we can see the actual output from it behind. So the markdown output, Claude's taking all of that and parsing it out into a bit more of a human readable format. Now, while this is processing, like I want to call out, we're not trying to build a better chat interface for interacting with Sentry, and we're not trying to build something that's going to just replace APIs. What we want to build is a really good surface area for getting context out of Sentry and bringing that into the place where developers live, usually inside of their code and inside of their IDEs or inside of Claude. Like, it's all about making sure that context is available. So obviously all of us are doing these demos inside of the chat interface, but I think all of us who are building these MCP servers really see this as a path to bringing information about environments a lot closer to our users. So we get this nice project overview with a ton of information around what's going on inside of this environment, including one of the issues that's having a problem. You can see that one match up over here on the left-hand side inside of Sentry to that unborked 14 one, where it talks about what's going on. Now, I've ran an autofix job with Seer inside of this project already. So autofix is our AI agent that'll go in and pull all the context that we're talking about and feed it into AI to help figure out what actually broke and how to fix it. I can pull that information in also. So I can come in and say, show me the autofix status for unborked 14, which is an issue ID from Sentry, matching this one up here. I could have just told it to list out autofix status and it would have used context to go and find it. Just a little bit shorter this way. I can allow this, and it's going to go and pull in that autofix information. Now, it's going to take a few moments to actually pull this in, so I don't think we need to sit here and scroll and watch it actually process all of it, but we can see some of the things that it's bringing in. We'll go into Sentry and take a look at the equivalent run on the Sentry side. The Sentry side, it went through and pulled this error, looked at what was wrong, looked inside of traces, stack traces, our code that's connected in GitHub, pulled all that information together and looked at what was actually causing this problem. And so I think a lot about when I'm building applications with AI or I'm building inside of Cursor or Windsurf today, a lot of times when something breaks, I just copy and paste the error in. But what if you could take that error and all of the context around the things surrounding it, the backend services, points in the trace that were failing, exact areas in the stack traces where these problems are showing up? What if you included all of that in the context of your go fix this for me AI? It's going to be a lot smarter, because I think we all know that the more context we provide to the agents, the better they get at returning information. And so this is the solution all the way through. I can go and have it code it, pull a PR for me. But what we're talking about here is how we interact with things like Claude or the ID directly. I could come in and copy the output from here, because this is ultimately just that autofix result. I could go into Windsurf, paste this in, and just have it go and fix that. Or I could actually query it directly from Windsurf using the MCP tools also. So this is using that same remote MCP server. I can come in here and say, get the autofix for unborked 14. And it should actually take all that information, pull it down, and start chaining the fix for it and actually process it right inside of the IDE. So what we care about most at Sentry is fixing these broken issues. If you use autofix inside of the Sentry UI to do that, that's great. You can get the PR experience and go in and merge that change in. Or if you want to bring it in and pull it in directly from something like Windsurf and run it here, that's fine also. Either way is totally good for us. We just want to make sure that the information you're getting is actually going to fix the problem for you. And so that's still running inside of here. So we'll give that some time to go through. But I could use all of that information to go and actually drive a fix against this one directly from inside of Cursor or Windsurf. In this case, like I said, using Windsurf. So as we start to cruise through the end of this, we can come in. There's a bunch of different tools that we expose out. The idea here is to enable better workflows inside of LLMs. And so for like one of my favorite ones is this create project. Obviously, I have an issue. I have 33 projects that are created. Being able to use like the project one to go in and say, I want to instrument Sentry in this new project, and have the LLM be able to say, cool, I have these tools that'll help me go and do this for you. I can go in and create your project. I can pull the DSN back. That's how we connect Sentry into the Sentry environment, connect Sentry in an SDK into your Sentry environment. I can pull that DSN in, apply it to your application, install the Sentry configs, and be good to go. And so that's like an entire workflow that will use a bunch of these different tools as part of its flow. Same thing applies for listing out DSNs or telling it to begin autofix. What if when a problem happened inside of your application, you had rules in place inside of Cursor or Windsurf that would tell it, hey, go instrument logs with Sentry, go in and run autofix against the issues that come through, bring the solution in and apply it, right? That's the workflow that we're trying to drive here. And that's the unique context that using MCP is going to enable for people. And again, using Cloudflare with this made it really easy for us to prototype this, build it. And my biggest advice for anybody who's curious in the space and wants to learn more is go try it out, right? You'll be shocked at how fast you can go from zero and the tools that Cloudflare set up to have something wired up using OAuth that will let you go in and pull additional context from outside of systems in, like we've done for Sentry here. It's been a short road to get here, but it's been pretty great to see how fast we were able to make good progress with it. If you want more info, drop into the Sentry docs. We got these up today, the demo videos in there, as well as all the setup information.
Cody, that was a wonderful demo. It's really exciting to think about like how really big, complex software systems with hundreds of people contributing to them get so much more accessible with all these tools, right? Like some other team service over here, you've never looked at an exception in your life, and suddenly you're able to do things with it.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. Imagine you're a new person on a team and someone says, hey, this application's broken. And you can go in and just say, hey, tell me about what's happening with this app. And it brings all this information and how to actually fix it. And I think what we're seeing here is the lowering of the bar to doing really hard things inside of software across the board. And I think things like MCP really stitch that together and make it easy to bring those possibilities in wide ways, not just Sentry ways, in wide ways. So it's really exciting for me. I'm really, really happy for it.
Awesome. Well, and then if you want to transition from, you have all this debugging context over here to create a task or an issue, we have Tom Moore, who's up next from Linear, who's going to tell us about Linear's MCP server. Tom, take things away.
Hey guys, that is a tough act to follow. Cody has a lot of presence there, so we'll try and do our best here. I've already gone through the installation that Cody went through, so you can kind of see we have our Linear MCP server that's already connected. I also have the Sentry one as well, actually. We were testing that, and they work pretty well together. But I will just, I forgot to introduce myself. So yes, Tom from Linear, engineering lead here. And for those of you that don't know what Linear is, it is an issue tracker. We make a purpose-built tool for planning and building products. We have a lot of pretty great companies using us, from Cash App, Vercel, Ramp. They all use Linear to build their products. So yeah, my demo is pretty short in compared to some of the others, but we're going to do it live, and it's all in production, and you can use these tools today with your own Linear account. So let's see how this goes.
I'm gonna share your screen.
Oh yes, good reminder. Thank you. Let me pull that up. Thank you very much. Yeah, so before I was mentioning, we already have these tools set up here. I have Sentry, and I have a bunch of our own tools here. I've got a few deselected just to make sure that hopefully this demo goes pretty well, but you can see the types of tools that we're providing to Claude and to any other clients that use our MCP server. Okay, so for this demo, I have my rideshare account here, which is a ride-sharing application. So let's have Claude pull in my issues. Can you tell me what my Linear issues are? Hopefully this goes well. We pray to the LLM and to the demo gods. Awesome. So it's managed to pull that information in, and we can see which issues are assigned to me and kind of a brief description of each. Which do you think is the most important? Maybe this will work. Awesome. Looks like this is currently the highest priority issue to work on. So one cool thing about this is we can use the additional context that Claude has and hopefully some of the extra tools that Claude has to help us debug this issue. So help me diagnose the problem and research a solution for this bug. This is what I was hoping would happen. So Claude can go out and use its web search tools and go and search from Stack Overflow and a bunch of other places into why this might be happening. So the bug here seems to be we have strange characters appearing inside of our web application, specifically occurring in Internet Explorer. I wonder why that might be. All right, so it actually searched 40 different websites. So it's probably got a pretty good idea of what might be causing this at this point. I see we have a diagnosis, we have some potential solutions. Could be that we're just missing something as simple as the UTF-8 set. Okay, so perfect. Can we, oh, that disappeared. I knew something live would happen. Can we update the issue with the results of your research? I think we had a little Claude bug there because the whole research disappeared. But hopefully it's able to recover. Perfect. You can see it retrieved the issue from linear again, and now it's writing an update here with the findings. Perfect. Let's go over here and check that that worked out okay. Excellent. And it looks like it wants to drop a comment on there too, with some additional steps. I'm actually quite busy right now, so I'm going to tell it to just go ahead and assign this issue to another engineer on the team here. In this case, it has to kind of look up the user's ID to be able to assign them, and it's able to chain those commands and figure out the right thing. And hopefully you saw on the right over here that none got assigned to that issue. Great, so that's kind of the meat of the demo. You can see we were able to pull in the context from the web and work on issues both reading and writing into Linear. We also have a number of tools for searching through your issues and projects and comments and all these other things. One of the nice things about this being a remotely hosted MCP server rather than something that's local is we're able to continuously deploy it. We deploy updates to the Linear application 20, 30 times a day, and we expect to be updating the MCP server continuously with new tools and refining it as we figure out all the ways that the LLMs like to use it and don't like to use it. We can make sure that it works better and better over time. I don't have a demo with this, but I did want to mention like the Sentry and the ability to kind of combine different MCP tools was actually really nice. So internally, we did have one situation where we have the Sentry integration into Linear, and Claude was able to recognize that there was a Sentry link and then go and use the Sentry MCP to pull more information from the stack trace and from the user session and these types of things. So if you can imagine that also in your editor, then it really gives you a really great environment to debug and to move really fast, particularly on bugs, but also on things like developing new features as well.
Wonderful. Tom, thank you so much for this. It's really cool, again, like what you were saying, to see all these things working together. I love the example of like the research mode in Claude being used with Linear. And what you mentioned about like this advantage of building a remote server and being able to kind of control updates and not make sure people aren't out of date, got me thinking a little bit about like, experimenting with different tool descriptions, or how do you do a little bit of a beta of a tool to a specific set of people, or give people early access, and some of those patterns.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. I mean, that's one of the nice things about it using OAuth, so it has the full context of your account. So that's another thing that we do internally a lot, is we feature flag lots of different features that we're working on. So we could even obey those feature flags inside of the MCP server to make sure that context is very specific to the workspace and to the user.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We got one more demo today from Atlassian. I think this is going to actually be a video recording because their team's based in Australia. And I think we're going to kick this off. So let's see if this plays.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh, and I'm a head of product at Atlassian. Today, I'm here to walk you through a demo of our new remote MCP server that we're announcing today. We're doing this because we want to be able to bring all of your Atlassian data from Confluence and Jira and beyond to the places where you work, whether that's in a model, an IDE, or something beyond. MCP is a great framework and protocol for us to be able to do this. For the first release, we're supporting Jira and Confluence Cloud. By supporting Jira, that means we also support Jira Product Discovery, Jira, and Jira Service Management. We'll be supporting more Atlassian products over the coming months. We build this in a way that respects your user permissions, and so if you're an admin out there, anyone who uses this will only be able to have access to the data that they already have access to with their Atlassian account. And we're working with a bunch of AI-first partners in this space, and so if there's any company out there that you'd love us to do a partnership with for the remote MCP server, please reach out. It's likely we're already talking to them. But let's jump straight into a demo. Here we have Claude on the left and Jira Product Discovery on the right. This is a list of all of the different ideas as a product manager that I've collected and rated the impact and effort and things for. We have used the MCP server to summarize one of the issues already. And so what we actually want to do here is I would like to implement this one-click checkout idea over here. So let's say, can you please help me to create a product spec for WCF 7 in Confluence. And so this one is WCF 7. And so it has a bunch of data here that we have entered of why we think this is an important thing to do. Now you'll see for each of the different tools, Claude and Anthropic have implemented it so that you can say, I can allow this tool call for this specific chat or just for this specific instance. And so here, because we're going to be calling them a bunch, I'm going to say allow for this entire chat. It's going to go off and figure out what we should be doing here. So it's going to look for the Confluence spaces and then Confluence pages. And so it's going to figure out if there's anything that already exists in Confluence. So instead of just creating a Confluence page straight away, it's going to check if there are any. In this case, there are not. And so it's off to the races creating, using Markdown to create a product specification or product requirements document, PRD, for this one-click checkout implementation idea that we have stored in Jira Product Discovery. So it should be done pretty quickly, and then we can go check it out in Confluence. Okay, so it has asked me for permission to create a Confluence page, which I'm going to allow, obviously. And now that the page is created, it should come back with a quick link for us to go and have a look. All right, it's been incredibly thorough, apparently. Let's go over here and see if it actually created the link. Here we go. And so we have a bit of a summary of what we should be doing. So it's got functional requirements of all of the things that we need to build, non-functional requirements, etc. Obviously, if you have a different way of writing specs, you can absolutely prompt it a bit more. I just gave it a very generic prompt, obviously. But let's say, let's now use this page and break this product spec Jira issues in the WCFD, which is the delivery project. And so it should go off and analyze this page and help me break it down. And so obviously models are very good at breaking things like this down. So there's a bunch of different things here it's going to do. It's going to look at what Jira projects are available to check if this project exists, which I know it does. And then it's going to create an epic, which makes a lot of sense. We would like to have an epic that's connected to this product spec. And so now it's going to go off and create a bunch of different Jira issues. So we should see that happening. Here we go. I love the preview here, so you can see the request that it's making. And then we should start to see these starting to show up in the list view and in the board view. Here we go. So here's the first one that it's created, obviously in Jira. I'll pause this for a second while it goes through and creates all of these. Okay, so I'm back, and Claude has decided it's in a little bit of a waterfall-y mood. So we have a bunch of different phases: testing, development, research, launch, etc. But it's gone ahead and created all of these Jira issues. And so we can see over here, if we refresh the board, we should have a whole big list of Jira issues here that we can start implementing, which will be awesome. There you go. You'll notice that it's also linked each of these issues to the epic, which it created, so that they're child issues, and it's linked it to the Confluence page, which is awesome. Exactly what we want. So other things that we can do here, let's say we have implemented WCFD 23. Can you move it to done? And so it should go off and move this across the board for us. You can imagine if you were to do this from a model like this, or from an IDE as an example, super easy to just transition it from wherever you're working. Makes it very easy. And it's decided that it wants to add a comment to the Jira issue as well, which says that it's been completed and what has been completed. Obviously, it's making a little bit up here, but you get the gist. If you're prompting it properly, it would be able to be more accurate about what it's putting in here. And so we should be able to see here, if we refresh, that the issue has been moved over to done, which it has, which is awesome. And so the last thing I think we could do here is this whole feature has now been implemented. Let's create a succinct and fun blog to announce it to our customers. Fun marketing blog. Create this draft page in Confluence. And so hopefully we get a nice little blog here that we can go off and start building on top of a little bit of a draft that we can release to our customers. So here we go. Say goodbye to checkout headaches with our new one-click checkout, which is exactly what we're doing. And so here we go. It's off writing it, and it should be done in a second. Great. Let's ask, oh, here it is. Here's the draft. Let's open it on this side. There we go. Say goodbye to checkout headaches with our new one-click checkout. It's put a little image in there, and it's written the blog. Obviously, this is just a starter. I would have to edit it and make sure it's all good before we launch it. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you can do a bit of an end-to-end workflow using Claude and the Atlassian MCP. We went through Jira product discovery with an idea. We created a product spec from that idea automatically, which I can then edit and change. We then broke that down into a whole bunch of different tasks. We transitioned one of those tasks to done. If we look over here, we can see that it added a comment on my behalf because it's using my token, obviously, of what it thought I did, which I didn't actually do, but you get the idea. And then we created a marketing blog draft based on what we had done. So there's a lot that you can do with the power of MCP. We're very, very excited to launch this, and we're very interested to see how you use it. Please send us your feedback. Please ask us for more APIs, for more products, etc., more partners. We're very, very keen to see what you want to do with it. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Wonderful. Well, those are all of our demos for today. So I want to thank everybody who joined today. A couple themes that were really interesting. Payments was obviously a big topic. Task tracking was a big topic. And just to seed it, if you're watching this call right now, like it's almost like there should be paid agents that complete tasks for you, and you talk to them through Claude, something like that. I don't know, Mahesh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of our vision at Anthropic definitely aligns with agents being able to go help and be kind of a collaborator alongside you as the kind of individual doing the work. So big fan of that. Big fan of a lot of the demos today.
Before we drop, what's next for Anthropic? Anything you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I think there are a ton of fast follows that we want to be working on. A lot of the MCP excitement historically has been around tools, but I think there's a lot of potential for resources and prompts and giving these agents these interfaces to actually interact with data as opposed to just tool results and tool inputs. And then I think we talked about this, but better interfaces for MCP servers to be able to generate code or to generate or elicit more information from the user. And then broadly, just the whole area of agents. I think servers are going to become more long running and do more complex tasks than just these single API calls. So the answer is there's a lot of stuff to work on.
It's been a busy time. There's a lot to do. On our side, we're really excited about MCP as the protocol for agents talking to other agents. As exactly as Mahesh was saying, like that, we designed the way you build an MCP server on Cloudflare very intentionally to use our agents SDK. And so actually, if you've built an MCP server on Cloudflare so far, it has all these building blocks to make it have persistent state, or to kind of, as like even a couple of the demos we're showing, interact with data a little bit more, or remember history. And we're thinking a lot about that space right now. And super excited to see where things go. Up next, we are going to have a session if you are interested in creating your own MCP server, led by Kenzie Dodds. It's not going to be on this stream, but if it's after we drop, it will be on the Cloudflare developers YouTube channel. We'll live stream it there. Craig Dennis from Cloudflare will be there, and live code an MCP server on Cloudflare. So if you want to give it a try, join. Thanks to all of our presenters. Thank you to Anthropic and to Mahesh. This has been a wonderful day, and see y'all on the internet.
Thanks for having me. So excited.